Great. So we've got a minute and a half before we actually start formally, but I just want to welcome. So Kate from Dark Totnes is leading hosting the narrative today. I don't know if we can sort of pin her. Di and I will be quizzing her. And Kate is the captain of Dark Totnes Rowing Club. And it's a really big year this year. So on the 9th and 10th of April, they are having their 50th anniversary regatta. Looks like Di's got a big print of the river in front of her there. And as Kate will explain, one day we're going from Dark Totnes towards Dartmouth, and on the other day of the 2-day extravaganza, they're rowing from Dartmouth. So it's a real collaboration between the two clubs. And it's great to be able to host this because not everybody can get down to Dark Totnes or do 15K in one go, me included. But this is absolutely great, and I'm really looking forward to coming to umpire or marshal or whatever there. So it's just coming up to past, so I'm just going to do a bit of mobilization. So just for the camera, I'm kneeling, but if you want to stand, so just because it's very early in the morning, I'm gonna sort of rotate my shoulders here, 5 back, 5 forward. And then thumbs on my shoulders, another 5, just really reaching out, big circles with your elbows forwards and backwards. It's really good to get a sort of a 5-minute mobilization in. It really helps kick the day off. Okay, now stretching up, big circles with the arms. 5 backwards, really just helps things get going. And 5 forwards. Looks like I'm doing a bit of free branding for Row 360, but they do amazingly with all the boat race advertising and stuff, and really amazing work they do. Great magazine. Okay, I'm now one hand on right hand on my right hip. I'm just going to reach up and over, just opening out that side. Obviously, if you're rowing, you're going to do a little bit of twisting. On the ergo, we're not, so those lats can get a little bit tight, especially if all you do is sit at the computer all day. Right, and left hand on left hip, reaching up and over. Okay, good. Now shaking your arms out, just starting to rotate, just get a little bit of movement in. I'm keeping my hips forward, just rotating around, shaking the arms out. And now I'm just going to lead with our hands opening up behind me, just getting a little bit of circulation going. Okay, now going to stand up, or if you already stood up, I'm just going to do some knee bends. So arms up, bring them down to the knee, 5 each time. Just opening the hips. And now if you need to hold on to something, that's fine, but lift one knee, open it out and down. So just starting to open the hips out. And the other side. Apart from anything, it's just when you're not really thinking, it's really good to just have, like, say, 5-10 exercises that you can do on autopilot. And then by the time you've done those, you're awake. Okay, I'm just going to kneel down and open hip flexors. So left knee in front of my left ankle, just opening those hips. I did a bit of gardening yesterday. And joined the Molesey leg ends last night. I just thought, oh, really nice to get into the rowing machine again after a week away. It was really nice. Okay, really opening that hip and the other way. So knee on the floor, hopefully something soft under the knee, right knee over the right ankle. Just gently squeeze, stretch into it, sitting up. Great. Oh, let it relax and then stretch again, really opening that hip flexor. So on the rowing machine, we're going to be quite compressed in this area. So it's good to do this. Just feel how stiff you are and then do it again afterwards. Okay, 1 minute. Thanks, Di. Right, I'm going to go on machine now. So have some water, ventilation. Whether you want to do socks or shoes is fine. I'm still on quite a low setting for me, but I'm on about a 3. So don't feel too bad if I overrate you, but I'm just still on the COVID recovery, but sort of a 4 or a 5 usually is fine. Select workout, we'll do a new workout, single time 10 minutes, because Di's keeping an eye on us, which is great. Lovely. So good luck if anybody's rowing the head races this weekend, the men's head on Saturday. But if you're not, this is something definitely different. Okay, count us in, Di.
Row.
Okie dokie. So Kate, tell us about Tottenham's Rowing Club, where we're boating from today.
So Tottenham's Rowing Club is, it was actually formed from 2 rowing clubs. There used to be, back in the 19th century, a club on the town side, the Totnes side, and one on the Bridgetown side, which is the other side of the river. And these 2 were amalgamated and moved down to the Bridgetown side. We're down on the east side of the river, about as far down as you can walk in the town. The new clubhouse that we have was, we raised funds, was built 15 years ago, and we have amazing facilities. We have 3 big boat bays, 2 sculling bays and a big boat bay, an ergo room looking out over the river, a club room with a bar, and the most enviable location.
Amazing, amazing. So I'm just going to paddle off another 3 minutes, full slide, just relaxed, enjoying the scenery, and then I'll work down the slide and up the slide. So what might we be seeing as we boated?
So the crucial thing to know about Totnes, which I still haven't quite got my head around, is there is no floating pontoon and there are no nice, safe wooden stages. We boat, because it's tidal and the range can go up to 6 meters, we boat from concrete steps, which are very steep and quite narrow, or from a slipway. So the first thing you do when you come out of the boathouse is we boat facing up the river, and you need to negotiate the concrete steps and slipway. But we always help people there. And when we do the head of the dart, we actually bring in a pontoon to help with the boating.
Brilliant.
So as you look around from the boathouse, you're actually looking straight across at the boat yards of Baltic Wharf, and the town is to your right. You can see right up to the old bridge across to Bridgetown, a beautiful stone bridge. And if you look down to your left, the river goes away south to your left.
Brilliant. Right, I've got my bearings now. So I'm just gonna imagine I'm in a scull, and I've got my line, so I'm gonna work down the slide. Okay, just unraveling the slide, 3/4 slide, go. Just get it in this next minute, just work down the slide, and then we'll build it up again. So when we're racing, always good to have look at the course, work out where you're going to do your warm up. What maybe you need to slightly readjust your standard warm up to fit the river, fit lots of other people around you. So I'm going down to half slide now. Especially if you're wanting to do any running starts, or as we're heading to regatta season, perhaps fixed starts. There's some areas that you're not supposed to do full pressure or 3/4 pressure, just for safety. Okay, I'm now going to go to 1/4 slide, making sure I'm sitting on the front of my bum, just sort of sitting up, rocking over from the hips before bending the knees. And now just hands over, body rock, go. And if we're imagining this is day 1 of your 2-day event, what categories can people enter? Bearing in mind, we've still got a few days to go. To enter.
Yeah, on the Saturday, which is downhill, it's the bigger boats. So it's 4s, Coxton, Coxless, quads, and up to 8s. But that also includes not just sliding seat, but fixed seats, gig rowers. We're also any type of bigger boat. So long boats, we do have entries from offshore coastal rowing clubs like Mayflower, etc., but also the fixed seat rowers as well. It's very, very well attended, and we send the fixed seat off first, and then the sliding seats go off about an hour later.
Brilliant. So I'm glad everybody's joined us today, otherwise I will be illegal. Right, well, we're just going to do hands only and build up the slide. So sitting up, just slightly past the vertical, not too much, just a couple of degrees. Squeezing those elbows back, nice relaxed flat wrists. Getting ready to pivot from the hips, let the hands lead the shoulders over. In 3, 2, 1, go. Hands
just
down
over
and
5
away.
minutes gone.
Great, thanks, Di. So it's a real multi-boat extravaganza, really. And as I'm going to move up to 1/4 slide, just letting the knees bend, I'm maybe observing these different crews that are either queuing up to boat or around me. So how far is it to row from the club to the start area?
Probably a massive 50 meters.
Oh dear, right. So where do people do their warm-up?
Well, unfortunately, there is a sort of circulation pattern. So where the boat club is, you can actually row upstream another, say, 300 meters or so.
Yeah.
We do have a circulation pattern there, but actually a lot of the warm-up has to be jumping around on the bank, upright rowing. We do have the Ergos as well, but the river is only navigable beyond us for another 500 meters by the weir, and we have to turn when we get to the town. It's too shallow further up.
Right.
So there is a circulation, but it's one of those where actually you have to kind of do your own warm-up.
Right. So the land-based warm-up and maybe the first K or a couple of K of the 15K race is settling into it, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of you'll see crews, a lot of them jog down the ranges, they'll jog partway down the course and jog back. There's lots of ways to warm up, but there's not a huge amount of water to do that.
Okay, so this is luxury, having this little bit of warm up here. Okay, I'm moving to half slide, just making sure our hands down and away, body rock, keeping that strong core as I rock over.
And tell us about some of the famous faces, Kate.
Famous faces at Dark.Nest, Di?
Yeah.
Well, we're very lucky. We have quite a cast of former and current well-known names. So Bill Lucas, who is the former Olympian and currently assistant coach at Cambridge University, was a club member. Elliot Barton was Commonwealth sculler. Suzanne Hutchings was another Commonwealth rower. She rowed for Wales. We currently have Laura Macro, who is trying to get into the GB lightweight squad for Paris, the last lightweight rowing. Laura joined us recently because she really wanted the longer distances we were able. Her previous club had much shorter river area. So she's really taking advantage of the fact that she can row down 7 or 8K and back quite easily.
That's fascinating, yeah.
We're so pleased. She's quite an inspiration to our juniors. And then we have a huge cohort of masters rowers, very well known in the world masters rowing and the British masters rowing circuit, including Rod Stewart, not the singer, who is an ex-Australian international, and Pete Atkinson, who I think may hold the record for the most World Masters gold medals, but he has something like 38, I think.
Oh my word.
And known by his headband, which he's been wearing since at least the 90s.
I think it's the same headband. I really do.
Oh my goodness. So Dark Totnes once towed our boats to Varese for World Masters, so that it's a club very close to our hearts.
It's certainly, they do them. They're off to Australia. Pete and Rod are off to Australia to race for a month shortly. So,
of course.
So next you mentioned about inspiring the young juniors. That is so important, isn't it? And just that presence of somebody who is really aspiring to train and just be around. There's a lot that just sort of happens by osmosis, doesn't it?
Absolutely. We not only have those rowers and the seniors and the masters are always very happy to help out, although our juniors, I have to say, are excellent. There's a huge competitive spirit between our juniors and our seniors, but we also encourage ex-club members who've gone off to university, to come back in the holidays. They row with, Oxford Brooks, or some of them row at Leander, and they come back and they train alongside our juniors.
Brilliant.
So the older ones. So that really is a great way of passing that knowledge and enthusiasm on.
Last couple of strokes of your warm-up.
Great.
And rest.
Great. So in this last 5 minutes, change any settings, get some ventilation. Open my door. I will connect my heart rate to this. And
you still got a hole in your roof, Kate?
There's still a hole in my roof. In this weather, it's lovely.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So we're going to be doing a 20-minute piece. I'm going to be setting a 20-minute piece. We'll have a few technical pointers, but basically Di and Kate particularly is going to describe what we're seeing on this virtual row, which is brilliant. Right, I'm going to set single time 20 minutes, and feel free to put the links, Kate, into the chat. Okay, cool. Now I just want to make sure, can everybody see Kate? Pin. Can I pin? I think it's just down to whoever. Brilliant. Welcome to those that joined just a few minutes ago. This is the first 5K of the Totnes to Dartmouth row. We're imagining we're in a crew boat, a 4 or an 8. The following, which is actually going to happen for real on the 9th and 10th of April. And that in 2 weeks' time, we're going to imagine the Dartmouth inland row, the first 5K of that. So if you do decide to do a 15K or 3 5Ks on your own in the next couple of weeks, do let us know and we'll give you a big cheer. Okay, how are we doing for time?
We're almost 2 minutes gone.
Great, I shall just open the door. Ooh. Great.
Lovely bird song.
Yes, the birds is amazing. Managed to get out in the garden yesterday, which is great. I shall open this one as well. So good to have this facility. Right. Quick drink of water. Make sure you've got your settings right. Make sure you've got your feet level so that it doesn't pinch your hamstrings. Just coming up to 1 minute to go. Just decide on what rating you want. I'm going to go a fairly steady rating. I'm still sort of on my COVID recovery, but these Zoom Ergos are really great to just help you get over that inertia. So thanks to everybody that's leading or supporting these. How are we doing for time, Di?
That's 3 minutes gone.
Okay. I'm just gonna. So we're just imagining we're marshalling here at Totnes, heading for a long 15k row, but actually we're just going to have a break after 5k. See how we imagine this, and I'm really looking forward to it. This is a bit of a reconnaissance trip for me, so hopefully I can be a bit more useful when we head down to Marshall in a few weeks time. And for those that are regulars on this, next we're going to do another Dark Totness session, but the other way around in 2 weeks. But next week, at the end of March, we're on this regular slot. We're going to go to Hungary for our first international virtual row for Budapest Cup Regatta, which actually took place last weekend. But I'll be having my fellow world rowing umpire, Judith, join us and explain a little bit about why that race is so important to them.
And Sophie's co-hosting that one with you.
Yeah. So Sophie's got a degree in international affairs or politics, and so I definitely am taking advantage of that international perspective on things. So she's helping me do some research on it, which is great.
30 more seconds.
Okay, so tops off, imagining you're just turning. Marshall's told you to turn. And we can see all sorts of people around us from different parts of the country.
It says cheering crowds on the map, so hopefully they're in position.
Having coffee and bacon butties, I think, at this time.
Okay, Zoom Ergos, are you ready? Race.
Okay, so this first 30 seconds, I'm just gonna get myself into a nice rhythm. So settle down and imagining somebody on the bank is saying, Zoom Ergos, go. And we're just passing the timing point. So settle into the rhythm, quite a long steady piece. Work out your split you want to go for. I think I'm going to settle at a 20. So first 5 minutes, just get your focus on your rhythm. And I'll let Di and Kate do their talking now.
Okay, Kate, over to you.
So you've just started downriver, and on your right, on the west side of the river, you've got Baltic Wharf. This was started in 1872 with the opening of a branch line. It used to import wood from the Baltic area and from Sweden, Finland, and Russia to build houses. And on your left, or actually you're facing upstream, you're a scholar, so on Cox's left, on your right, the east side, you've got the disused rifle and machine gun ranges. We call it the ranges. It's now a public area with tables and a nice walk along the river. And that goes down for about 500 meters from the clubhouse. So you're rowing through quite a narrow bit of the river with it, the ranges on the east side and the Baltic Wharf on the west side.
Marvellous. Tell us a little bit about the town.
Totnes was once voted one of the top 10 funkiest towns in the country in High Life magazine, the British Area's High Life magazine, and was the capital of New Age chic in Time magazine back in 2007. It's very hippie, it's very eco, it's a very chilled and interesting and quirky town. It's full of lots of different types of people. It doesn't have a Costa because they have lots of artisan coffee shops. It's very independent.
And is that to the level that it had its own currency for a while at least, didn't it?
It did. It was what was called a transition town back then. They had the Totnes pound, and actually it was in circulation for a long time until 2019. And actually traders would take that. So they had a Totnes pound note, and you could use it in the shops, and people use that currency until literally we became a cashless society in around July 2019. It just it left use then.
And the river itself, Kate, are we, because it's only 75 kilometres long, isn't it, from the source to the sea?
Yeah, only.
Well, yes.
It's navigable. So the thing about the Dart is it's very beautiful. Because the moor, although it's long, the moor is so close. So the tide, the flood water from the moors comes up and goes down very quickly. So unlike, for instance, the Severn, where it can take a day and a half for the water in North Wales to hit it, literally we can have the river go up several meters over a few hours and then go down again over a few hours. It's navigable up into Totnes. There's a weir at Totnes. It's not navigable above that, but you can actually there are yachts in Totnes. You can actually bring yachts up even now, as long as it's not particularly low tide. And there are pleasure boats that come up. There's a cruise that comes up the river. There's a Dartmouth to Totnes cruise, which is really interesting and shows you all the highlights. We used to have paddle steamers coming up to Totnes originally. The river was actually dredged then, but it's been let to silt up these days. So really it's only the yachts and the river cruiser that come up.
I've done that cruise. I can really attest to how good it is, yeah.
It is very good. So the river is tidal. It's brackish up to Totnes. So you've got all the fresh water coming down, but it is tidal up to Totnes. We have quite a range. So our high tides can actually flood over the top of the steps and over the pathway. At the lowest tides, you couldn't row. You can walk across in a pair of wellies.
Wow.
We're coming up to your first 5 minutes gone.
So at this point, basically, you've gone down the extent of what we call our home reach. So you've gone past our regatta start. We have a 1K regatta start, and you're coming down to Hole in the Wall. So on the west side of the river is the remains of a wall as a bank for the river. This wall was built by the Dartmoor prisoners who came down. And there is literally a huge hole in the wall, which is one of our turning points when we're doing training on the home reach. And there's a nature reserve inside that you can actually kayak or paddle in. You can't take a rowing boat in, but it's quite a magical place.
Wow.
Okay. So that Henry, eat a heart out. So we're going to push off the hole in the wall. I'm going to I've got my rhythm now about 20, 21. Really going to drive with the legs. Just get a little bit more speed at this rhythm. Sitting up, getting my breathing out as I drive. Good. Let's come down a couple of pits.
So now you've done about 1.5K now. So you've gone around double bends. Our juniors don't go double bends, at least not until they're senior juniors. Once you're around double bends, you're out of sight of the club and out of sight of Totnes. Your next marker is on your west-hand side, and that's the Stone Quay that's part of the Sharpham Estate.
And what's the Sharpham Estate, Kate?
The Sharpham Estate is a beautiful, huge house up on the hill. It was built in the 1770s. It's actually now a centre for training. They have a vineyard. Unfortunately, the vineyard has just moved, but there was a vineyard there, Sharpham Wines. And the Stone Quay these days is used as a location for weddings and things. It's very beautiful, and we can row past and they've set up an awning and people are having their weddings on this lovely old stone quay jutting into the river.
How lovely. We can get in as many shots as we like.
Photo bombing in style.
Yeah.
And are there any steering tips, Kate? Or is it just a case of avoiding other crews?
Well, when you're going downriver, this bit is all bounded, so you can see the edges. So this is a section of the river that we row with obeying the buoyage. There are buoyage for the yachts and the big river boats, and when we row, we follow the buoys. On the head of the river is the one time we don't follow the buoys. It's too narrow in place, it wouldn't be safe. So we always row on a high tide. It's really important to go to the briefing because you still need to be careful about cutting the corners. You can get quite shallow. So when you're going down from Stone Quay, you're heading down past Broken Steamer. So Broken Steamer is the hulk of the Kingswear Castle, one of the original paddle boats that was used on the Dart in the early 1900s, it became a fever ship just after the First World War, and eventually was burnt to avoid infection. And so one of our markers on the east bank, on the Cox's left, is the hulk of the broken steamer, and that's the start of our 3K head race, which we do in the autumn. So when you get to broken steamer, you've done 3K.
Marvellous. And on the entries for the race, Kate, and it's the 50th anniversary race this year, I understand. It says that 10% of the seat fee goes to local charities. That's an interesting idea.
Yes, we've always done that. Well, it would be the 51st, but because last year was cancelled, that was actually 50 years. It started in 1971, so this is the 50th race. We always in these events give money usually to the local hospice, but also we support the RNLI. Dartmouth Rowing Club has very strong links to the RNLI, which is based down there, and the RNLI are really helpful to all both the clubs with their river events.
Fantastic. And they've got a B and a D class lifeboat down there.
I'll take your word for it, Di. Haven't needed them, but they're very helpful.
I'm glad you haven't needed them. Interesting fact about the RNLI at Dartmouth, they were closed for 111 years and reopened in 2007.
I don't know why
that might come up on a quiz in the future.
So now you've gone round. The Sharpen estate is actually a sort of peninsula when you look at the map. It's up on the hill. So North Quay is on the north side of it. And we've done about 4K, and we've passed what we call the Sharpen Boathouse. It's actually called the Bathing House. It's an absolutely beautiful little cottage with a balcony over the river. It's only got 1 bedroom, and it's one of the top 10 most romantic getaways, according to the Independent newspaper. That's often a place where we stop. If we're doing training outings, we stop there. It's wide enough for several crews, so you don't get in the way of other boats. And on New Year's Day, a couple of years ago, we stopped there on a New Year's Day outing, and a local seal climbed onto the front of one and sat there. We have a video.
Oh, beautiful.
Fantastic.
Hey, we're over halfway, so I'm going to recap on my breathing out during the drive, making sure I've got my leg drive connected, connect at the catch, drive through, and I'm just going to think of spinning the hands, keeping this momentum, hands away, body rock, hands away, body rock.
So now you're going down Hamreach, and although we're only doing 5K, because the river is flooding out with you and it's a high tide, it's pushing you along. So you're actually going to manage to do 7.5K in this 5K for 5K round. So now you're at about 4.5K, and you're going down what's called Hamreach. And on the west bank, the hillside is completely covered with beautiful trees and comes right down to water. And that was one of the settings for a scene in the Aneidan line. The Aneidan line, big in the 70s, and I bet you can remember that theme tune, was often set. A lot of the Dart estuary was used as locations for that series. As we go down here, on the head, it does open up, the Hamreach opens up. On the head of the Dart, you can actually row across the whole of the wider area. But when we're going down, we follow the buoys. There's a line of green and red buoys we go between, which is also, of course, where the strongest current is. So you have to weigh up, do you want to cut the corner or do you want to follow the tide?
Oh, cunning. So we're just over 12 minutes in. You've mentioned the seal. What else might we expect to see?
Well, we have several seals. The most I've seen is 3 at once, which is lovely. We also had a dolphin up there the other day, which actually was on the local news. We were a bit distressed because they shouldn't really be that far inland up at Totnes, but it did go away safely.
Good.
We have kingfishers, we have herons, egrets, cormorants, shags. People say they've even seen otters down by the bathing house, by Sharpen Boathouse, but the locals think it's probably mink rather than otters. Fish-wise, there are salmon and trout. The river is absolutely beautiful. And I have to say, no matter how many times you've seen a seal and it pops up next to you, it's always exciting, even if you see it every week.
I can't imagine it. Yes, I'd love that.
So now you're heading down from Hamreach. The next marker is Duncannon, which is actually the start of our club time trials. That's about 5K. So you're coming up to 5K. You've been rowing so beautifully. And Duncannon is a little hamlet of houses, but it was mistakenly called a village in the Doomsday Book, and it's still a village technically, therefore, even though it's not. It's the smallest village in England, and that's on the east bank. It's on a bending round to the west, and on the west bank is a stone sculpture of a leaping salmon. It's quite a landmark.
Lovely.
And you're ahead of yourselves. We're 14 minutes in now, so you are literally, as Kate said, rowing beautifully, taking advantage of the day.
I really like the idea of actually really using the stream. So although we think we're going to row 5K, actually we do 7K. I really like that.
It's yeah, a lot of the unfortunately this head of the Dart, it's a slow tide that weekend, so unfortunately the course records are unlikely to get broken, but we still make sure that you go with the tide. So the briefing is very useful, but one has to think about shorter course versus trying to get a bit more of the stream. So you're going around a big bend round to the west at Duncannon. It takes a while to go around the corner. There are some moored yachts there. They're the first yachts you'll have seen, because the ones in Totnes are further up from the club. So you need to make sure you avoid those moored yachts. They've got some quite low mooring buoys. And you're just coming to the edge of what we call our bit of the upper reaches, which is easily navigable because you've got banks and hills on both sides to guide you down the river. So you're just coming up to where it starts to open out.
Brilliant. So I'm just going to put all my technique together, breathe on the push, body rock over to get that length, hands down and away.
And keeping our shoulders down, the shoulders away from our ears.
Ooh, good shout there. And I'm just going to do a little push as we approach the 4 minutes to go on my feet. Really push and connect, push and drive. Feel that water flow, feel that run on the boat. Nice.
So you've just gone around the corner and you've just gone into the big open area that leads down towards Stoke Gabriel. We call it the Stoke Gabriel Strait. It's very wide. It's like being on Windermere or something. This is where navigation gets harder. So over to the west, there is another creek coming in, going Bow Creek, has a sandbar across it, and people competing, rowing upstream from Dartmouth Totnes, have been known to end up on that bank. It's completely the other side, it's completely the wrong way. And I think it was Runcorn, if I remember rightly, actually grounded on it. But when one's rowing back up the other way, one listens to the briefing and gets the markers. And Bow Creek is well known because there's a lovely village up there called Tuckenhay, and you can row up there on the right tide. And there was a pub called, it's called the Maltsters, but it used to be owned by Keith Floyd, and it was known as Floyd's Inn brackets sometimes. And that's still quite a nice thing to do. On the right tide, you can row down from Totnes and then row up there and stop for a quick drink and then row back. Nice. But hopefully you're not in Bow Creek, because that would be going the wrong way. So
okay.
You're now
3 minutes to go.
So you've done your 5K, and what you're doing is turning south, and you're heading towards, if you look straight down the river, you can see lots of moored yachts. It all gets a bit confused here. There are green buoys, the big buoys for the ships, but we don't have to follow those buoys. It's very wide and it's safe. So we head down towards the moored yachts. This is where we saw the 3 seals the other day. I was down with the master's crew. I was busy watching a kingfisher, and the crew were going, Kate, Kate. And there were 3 seals, 2 of them kissing what they went.
Aww.
It was really sweet.
Coming up for our last 2 minutes, so if you want to take it up, that's fine. 10 seconds. I'm going to try and go for 22. Two minutes.
And this is a good place to do it, because after all the bends you've negotiated down the wiggly part of the river, and you've done those superbly, hence you're ahead. Going down the Stoke Gabriel Strait, it's wide, it's open, it's a fantastic place to overtake. You're heading down there. Stoke Gabriel, when you get down there, it's going to be on the east bank, on Cox's left-hand side.
And I understand at Stoke Gabriel there's an ancient yew tree.
There is an
ancient trees, aren't we? We saw one at Runnymede.
Yeah, I think is it 1200 years old, 1300 years old?
Wow.
Stoke Gabriel is where the first of the dinghy sailing clubs as well is on the Darts. It's the highest dinghy club. On the day of the head of the Dart, there will be dinghies out racing, but we liaise with each other so we don't plan any crashes.
Marvellous. And you've 50 seconds to go.
Let's imagine we're overtaking a crew. Come on, crew, let's draw it on, use the stream. Brilliant, powering on. I can really feel that rhythm.
"30 seconds.
Well done, everyone. We're level. Let's just take our bows ahead. Nice long strokes. Great breathing, great rhythm.
10 seconds. And wind down.
So as we're winding down, Kate, let's imagine we've got to Dartmouth on this run. What's the circulation pattern there? How do we get off?
Well, the most crucial thing is to avoid the chain ferry, but I'll let Tess from Dartmouth tell you all about the chain ferry in 2 weeks' time.
Brilliant.
Assuming you have safely negotiated the chain ferry, you actually come off the water by the slipway for the chain ferry. So Dartmouth are very skilled at bringing boats in. There's a wide slipway there, and actually you can also come in against the shore if there's any shoreline. So it's you're basically heading to the east. So you paddle on through, paddle on further down, and then you turn towards the east and then paddle back in. You sort of lurk amongst the moored yachts. There are obviously Dartmouth is a huge sailing town, and there are lots and lots of yachts and pontoons down there. So you get your breath back, you turn safely and lurk and wait for your chance to come in.
Brilliant. I've just gone down to half slide just to keep paddling in, just get rid of that lactate, get my breath back, and then we'll just do a 5-minute stretch. But in the meantime, while we're stretching, or if you have to go, do come off mute. If you want to say anything, ask any questions, please do so. Hopefully you've enjoyed this, and join us next Wednesday for Hungary, Budapest Regatta, and then in 2 weeks' time we're going to do the other half of this, Dartmouth towards Totnes. So thanks for joining.
That was a really interesting row. Thank you.
Hi, Kate. It's Ian Martin. We're from Kingston. We got 3 coastal boats coming down for your event, which we're really looking forward to. Not a big weekend away.
Yeah.
We got coxes who are probably more at the novice end of the category, because to get people to volunteer to cover all that work for cox, it was a little bit more of a challenge. How difficult a stream is the route?
Well, actually, you're in 4s, yes?
Coastal boat,
So actually, it's the best way to be going down, because you're going downstream. So you're going with the tide for a start, and it's high tide. So if your coxes are at all nervous, you can tell them just to stay near the red and green buoys, and then they'll know they're near the stream.
Yeah.
And once it opens up, you've just rowed down to Stoke Gabriel, which opens up widely. Once you get there, you're heading south, and actually you're just heading straight down, leaving the east bank to your side of you. So they can just steer straight through the yachts going down that way. It's actually harder to navigate coming up, because you've got to further down. It's a bit confused. You've got to work your passage through. So they're going the right way.
Okay.
And but there is a very, very good briefing with photographs. Pete Atkinson gives that, so they can ask any questions, but it's definitely the way to be doing it, in my view. If you've not done it before, going downstream towards Dartmouth is the way to do it.
Thanks, Kate. Very interesting.
Have a great weekend. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, I saw you on the end.
Sorry?
I saw you on the list.
Yeah, no, we entered yesterday. Yeah, we're staying somewhere in Dartmouth on the Saturday night, so it should be a good fun.
Great. So I'm just doing a couple of upper body stretches. So right hand up, hand behind my heart rate monitors, come on. Right hand up and behind the back of my neck, just stretching my triceps, opening the chest out, but really stretching the triceps and the neck. If anybody else has got questions for Kate, do shout. And the other side, left hand up. Maybe you need to stretch